Hey, Sid Marty here. Welcome back. Today I want to show you how to process vocals in a hybrid setup, and I'm going to show you my favorite plugins and what I tend to use in the console and I tend to use in the software. So let's jump right in. And as you can see, we have here Logic Pro X going on, and the song I mixed some time ago was for a Belgian singer-songwriter, sounds like that.
You got tired, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me and leave me.
Okay, and now here is the vocal, the lead vocal itself. I usually tend to use, first of all, a de-esser, exactly two de-essers. One in front of the compressor and one after the compressor. So the first one is in the 7K range or 8K range, and the second one grabs the S's on the 5K range. So let's have a listen.
You got tired,
As you can see, just tiny amount.
and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me.
Okay.
And leave me and hold me long enough.
So that vocal doesn't have any major problems with S's or sh's and so forth. So they're doing pretty much anything at all. And here's the compressor. And what I tend to use when I mix, I don't like to use very much compression. I usually try to record instruments and especially vocals with a fader. So when the singer gets loud, I tend to slide down the fader a little bit, or I push it. Depends on the singer. So what you can probably do here is create another lead vocal. And the cool thing when you have the analog console is you can route pretty much every channel to every subgroup back into the computer, again out, and so forth. So what I have here is another track that gets sent into the subgroup, and from the subgroup to the converters back into the DAW where you can record it. And what you can do now is write the vocals. When you get loud, you can push the fader down, and when you get more quiet, you can push the fader up. So I'm going to show you now how that works. Zoom a little bit in to get more. Okay, so let's use it on probably here, because as you can see on the waveform, very low parts and very loud parts, for example here, and especially here. So let's have a listen how that works out. So we're gonna route that now to the subgroup 7. I'm gonna bring the fader up here to 0 and just hit record how that works.
Longing for more could never be wronger than right now. Longing for more would lead to everything that I don't want to feel on my own.
Loud.
And I can't breathe out the words that I would love to hear from you. I got time and you got shelter.
It's getting loud.
I'm falling into pieces, I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling into pieces, I got the message right.
Okay, well, that's basically not perfect, but as you can hear now,
longing for more could never be wrong.
It's pretty much even now.
Right now, longing for more would lead to everything that I don't want to feel on my own, and I can't breathe out the words that I would love.
And when you recorded that now, you can mute this track and work with that track. But you have to be careful with it because you can pretty much overdo it pretty quickly. But with a little practice it gets easier with time. So now let's head back to the original vocal here. And the cool thing about plugins is you can pretty much insert them anywhere you want. And the same thing I did now with the analog console and the fader to write the dynamics, you can use that plugin, which is from Waves. It's the vocal writer, and it does exactly the same thing I did now with the console. So when you engage it, you can set here the range, which it goes up and which it goes down, and I usually have it, I would say, around negative 2.5 and positive 2.5 because I don't want it too a too huge dynamic range. So let's check that out.
You got time,
and you have
and I got
to work
shelter.
with the target fader here if you want it more
We can't
loud, or
that this was
so
awesome.
it reacts to this target fader here.
Hold me and leave me and hold me long enough to leave it gone, leave it gone.
And now it should get probably quiet. Yeah, pushes it down and back up.
I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling
again, pushes it down
pieces.
and back up. And that's exactly what you want to achieve with that plugin. And the cool thing is now, when you have a compressor here, the compressor has less to do because the dynamics are written beforehand. So check that out here.
You got time.
Doesn't do very much at all, just on the peaks a little bit.
We can't deny that this was awesome.
Without.
Hold me and leave me
With.
and hold me long enough to leave it gone, leave it.
Sounds pretty good. And so that's that. Okay, and what I also like to do with dynamics is use parallel compression. I have two options here. I can use a send in the box, or I use the send on a subgroup, which has an insert on my rack with the Alesis 3630 compressor. And I'm going to show you now the in the box solution, which is here in the bus 6. Engage that. We have here the stock Logic compressor, and as you can see, it's pretty slamming. So we got a threshold around -47. We got a pretty high ratio, and turn down the makeup gain with a fast attack and a slower release. We got a distortion on a soft clipping setting, and so just have a listen to the parallel compression itself.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was awesome. Hold me and leave.
And now together with the other ones.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny
Without.
that this was awesome. Hold me and leave me.
With.
And hold me long enough.
Gets really powerful that way. And obviously you can use also a send again, which we get sent to 3 and 4. Again, gauge that here. Just listen to the compressor itself.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me.
So pretty
and leave
slamming,
me.
as you can hear. And now we're going to combine the signals.
You got time, and I got shelter.
Can dial in a little bit
We
more
can't deny
or less.
that this was our song. Hold me
Okay,
and leave me.
so that's parallel compression. You can use whatever you want. 2 ways here. And yeah, that's basically dynamic wise I would use. And now when we head over to the EQ solutions that I mostly use with the hybrid setup, I usually use 2 EQs for vocals, because one for surgical things and one for tone things. I don't like to use one EQ that does everything, because it could be a little bit too much for just one plug-in or the outboard EQ. So we engage now the EQ in the console here, and first thing I mostly do here is have a low cut, which is around 75 Hertz here. Listen at that.
You got time,
Without
and I got shelter.
and with.
We can't deny that.
So it has a little bit less bottom end, and it will sit a little bit better in the mix later on when you have drums and so forth. And now what I use here on the EQ for surgical is I hear in the track probably in the 9K range a little bit too harsh S's, so I want to dial them down. Sounds like that.
You got time,
Without
and I got shelter.
and with.
We can't deny that this was our song.
Without
Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough
and with.
to leave it gone, leave it gone.
Okay, so that's basically that. And for the tone, you could probably use an SSL channel, or I really like the Sheps plugin because it has a preamp simulation here going on. Tile in some preamp. You can also overdrive it if you want to. It has a high pass filter. So I took out on the console 75 Hertz. However, that it doesn't get too thin, I add a little bit around 100, 110K, just 100 and 110 Hertz. Sorry for that. Just a little bit, 1.5 is probably enough, and a little bit of top end, around 12 kilohertz, also around 1.5, 1.6. Have a listen.
You got time, and I got shelter.
Now with.
We can't deny that this was our song.
Without.
Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough
And with.
to leave it gone, leave it gone.
Okay, so that's probably enough for that. Very tiny amounts. And now what I like to do effect-wise, so all the effects that I have here in the box, as you can see on bus 1 we have a reverb, on the bus 3 we have the chorus type effect, and on bus 4 I got a delay, and now here, which is the one-knob driver, is to get a little bit of crit in the vocals. And so let's start off with that. First in the box with the one-knob driver. Just engage that here now. And have a listen to that.
You got time, and I got shelter.
It's pretty nasty.
We can't deny that this was our song.
And we combine that now with the other signal.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough
With?
to leave it gone, leave it gone.
Okay. Okay, and now for output gear, you can use a guitar style amp for that. I have the Art Power Plant, which is a pretty old unit. I think it was first made in the 80s. Many also use the Sans amp, which is pretty popular for that type of things. And so we're going to route it now again to the subgroup, and I have my art on the subgroup 4, so we're going to engage that. And have a listen.
You got time, and I got shelter.
So that's probably a little bit too much.
That this was our song. Hold me and leave me.
Okay. And now combine it again.
You got time.
I'm gonna turn it down.
And I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough.
So those are two options that you could use for get a little bit grit and nastiness in the vocals. And yeah, that's basically that. And now to the effects itself, like reverb and the chorus type and the H delay. So let's start off with the reverb, which is here the R reverb with a big warm setting here. And just listen to that itself. Again, they are routed here to the channels 23 and 24 on my console, so all the effects get routed here. You can play around with the wet and dry setting. However, you should probably use just a wet setting here. So we're gonna combine now.
Leave it gone, leave it gone. I'm falling into pieces. I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling into pieces. I got the message right.
Okay, so that's the reverb. Concerning chorus effects, I tend to use another type or trick that I use, which I show you now later on in the pitch shifting with those tracks. So we're going to leave that out here and go straight to the delay, to a normal tape delay going on here. Just listen to that, which is it's in the lo-fi setting. And you can play around with the high pass and low pass filters. I usually like effects a little bit darker because you get enough high end with the original signal. Now we combine that.
I'm falling into pieces. I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling into pieces. I got the message right.
Okay, so that's with delay. And now again, you can use also outboard effects. And my outboard effects are hooked up to the aux channels on the console. So I have on the first one the Alesis MIDI Verb 4, and on the second I have the Lexicon MX200. And for example, I show you now the one reverb setting here.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song.
Okay. And for example, the lexicon has a pretty nice tape to A, that I'll show you now.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song. Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough to leave it go.
And now you can combine that, because it has two processors. You can combine that with a vocal hall.
We can't deny that this was our song.
Okay, and I told you before what I usually use when I want a chorus type effect. I duplicate this lead vocal track here on 4 separate tracks, which is that. So it's the first pitch shift, the second, and it's also left and right separated. And on the first channel I have the waves doubler here, and you want to make sure that you have the direct signal deselected. Okay, you get 2 voices here. The first one is detuned with +3, and the second voice is detuned with -3. And what sounds like that.
You got time, and I got
Really
shelter.
weird, phasey, spacey sounding.
Can't deny.
Okay, and again the same on the right side here, pretty much the same settings, but with a T-tune on the first voice with -3 and the second on +3. So combine that two.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny.
Okay, and now we have also 2 other tracks which have again the doubler and even more T-tuned, but this time with -6 and +6, and the other one +6 and -6. So it sounds like that.
You got time, and I got shelter.
And together with the others.
We can't deny that this was our song.
So those 2 or 4 tracks are again out on the console on a separate stereo track, and now we combine that with the original lead vocal track.
You got time, and I got shelter. We can't deny that this was our song.
Without.
Hold me and leave me, and hold me long enough
And with.
to leave it gone, leave it
So you
gone.
have to play around with the level here.
I'm falling into pieces.
Get quickly too much.
Leave it all behind. I'm falling into
But
pieces.
that really depends on the mix then, when you have all the other tracks going on. So that's my type of chorus phasey thing going on with the lead vocal, that gets just a little bit more thick and a little bit more spacey, I would say. Okay, and one last thing I want to show you now on the back vocals here. Just use it on one now. When you get the singer, I usually like to have the double tracked, so on the left and on the right side, so you get this really cool stereo type of effect. And you can fake that with this, which is the real ATT from Waves. I've set it here on fake stereo, so it makes the signal on the left and the right side just with a small amount of delay. Have a listen.
I'm falling into pieces, I'm leaving it all behind. I'm falling into pieces, I'm falling into
Without.
pieces, I'd leave it all behind.
With.
I'm falling into pieces,
Okay, but it gets really robotic, if you can say that. So, another cool thing is, if the singer sings in a double take of the same passage, you can send one to the left and one to the right. Turn it down there, and it sounds like that.
I'm falling into pieces, I'd leave it
Much more natural, not the robotic style.
into pieces, I'm falling into pieces.
And what I added here on the vocals is just a little bit of saturation here with the J37, and with the EQ, just saturation for the preamp, dialed down a little bit of the highs on 12K, engaged the high pass filter, turned down a little bit of the low end, and added a little bit of 4 to 8K. And yeah, that's basically it. And when we combine now the background vocals with the lead vocal, and we also engage the pitch shift tracks, and could also use some effects, like let's use the one-knob driver here with this distortion. We could use the parallel compression of my outboard compressor. We could use the reverb of my outboard effects unit, and we could use, well, I think that's enough for now, so let's have a listen.
I'm falling into pieces, I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling into pieces, I got the message right. I'm falling into pieces, I'd leave it all behind. I'm falling into pieces, I got the message right.
And that's my approach on mixing vocals. And when you have all together with the mix, it probably sounds like that. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe. In the description below I have the link to the singer-songwriter from Belgium, Katrin Hammerschmidt, and see you next time.